My grandma tried to drown me as a baby. No, I know why. I'm writing this from under a bridge. It's a couple of hours until dawn, and the streets are dead silent. I'm fairly sure I'd hear the sirens when they come for me. I'm hoping that means I still have time. I know most of you won't believe me, and I can't blame you. I'm a scientist, a pragmatist. I've always believed in hard evidence, in the tangible and irrefutable. Ghost stories were for children, superstitions for adults who never outgrew them. If I were you curled up in bed, scrolling through this bizarre story from some distant stranger, I wouldn't believe it either. I've been on your side before. But if even one of you has seen what I've seen, felt what I've felt, if even one of you can keep your mind open long enough to listen, then I have to tell you my story, because I'm not sure how much longer I have. To explain, I have to go back to my grandmother, Sylvia. I don't remember much about her. Most of what I know comes from old photographs and whispered conversations I wasn't supposed to hear. Sylvia grew up in a tiny, middle-of-nowhere Bible town called Driftwood, the kind of place where the church bells ran life more reliably than any clock, and everyone knew everyone's sins before the confessions were made. Her parents were strict, Old Testament types, fire and brimstone believers, who saw sin behind every corner. They made Sylvia kneel on hardwood floors for hours, praying for forgiveness if she so much as took an extra biscuit from the cupboard. There's this old sepia photograph of her I remember. Mum kept it around for a while. Small and dark-featured, gaunt and hollow-eyed, she wore a strange, oversized robe. Later, I found out it was the uniform of the New Eden community. Yeah, a cult. You might even recognize the name they rebranded to. After all the scandals, the brides of Christendom. You've probably seen them outside Targets or Costco's, wearing those bohemian bridal robes, passing out pamphlets, always targeting families with young girls. That's them now, after decades of public scrutiny. But back when they were New Eden, they were just eccentric, harmless enough to be left alone. That was the world my grandmother grew up in. Something happened, something I've never been able to fully piece together, but Sylvia escaped when she was about 15. She ended up in a halfway house for underage, unwed mothers, where she gave birth to my mother. She never told my mum who her father was. The very question would send her into a violent rage, her eyes wild, her voice twisted with something between terror and fury. If Mum pushed too hard, Sylvia would punish her by making her kneel on sun-baked gravel for hours. When she finally let her back inside, knees bloody, face streaked with dried tears, she'd enforce starvation for days. For Sylvia, the more ribs you could see, the closer you were